IVM.
In 2019, you basically have two choices. You can either go for therapy or start your own podcast. I'm Natasha Malpani Oswal, and this is my personal diary. I wrote a very honest poetry book called Boundless this year, where I poured my deepest and darkest fears into the poems. I'll take you through some of my favorite poems and the secrets behind them in this podcast. We explore falling in love, the dark side of beauty, families, money, making room to make mistakes, heartbreak, and finding your own voice. Don't say I didn't warn you. It gets deep.
Today's episode is about why you should break some rules while you're in school.
And education. I did what I was told. Got good at coloring within the lines. Having the right answer. Pleasing teachers. I coasted. Relying on my memory. But I wasn't ready. I couldn't handle myself. Or my heart. Or read others' minds. Break some rules while you're in school. Learn to fail and bounce back from mistakes. There's no reward for learning to color within the lines. You know how they say your teenage years are your worst years? For your parents? I have to say that definitely wasn't the case for mine. They were super lucky. I spent so much time trying hard to please the people around me that I forgot to rebel. I was so focused on being the perfect daughter, student, friend, on making the perfect grades, that it didn't even occur to me that I could say no. I never asked myself what I wanted, how I wanted to spend my time, who I wanted to be. So then, of course, I ended up having a midlife crisis in my 20s. I spent my entire 20s exploring who I was. I moved countries, changed professions, met as many people as I could. I was always trying to figure out who I was and where I fit. And it was fun. I'm super grateful to have had the time to do this. But also, maybe I should have just asked myself these questions sooner. Honestly, looking back, I can't understand why I was so fascinated with academic excellence. My classmates that did decently well in academics, but spent much more time exploring their interests, playing sports, being more social, I think have ended up being better adjusted, more well-rounded adults than most of my classmates from Stanford. And if you guys are listening, and I'm sorry, but it's true. Now, it really scares me when I see how much more focused kids are today on planning their lives, on having every internship mapped out in college, as things get more and more competitive. I have to say, you really don't have to have it all figured out at 18. And if you do, that's probably something you're going to regret later on. The more pressure you put on yourself, and the more obsessed you get with winning points, badges, titles, the less likely you are to discover your own voice. In fact, I'd argue, if you drill down too quickly on choosing a path, you're doing yourself a disservice. Keep your ability to learn. The world needs more generalists and less experts. If I could do it all again, I'd go back and tell my younger self, relax. Life is not linear. It's not a competition. And no one has any answers. Also, I think we don't say this enough in India. A work environment is so much more similar to a sports team than school. If you really want to be competitive, focus on doing well in sports more than school. Being a good team player matters more than being a good individual contributor. And parents, don't do your kids a disservice by telling your kids they're wasting time when they want to go out and play. You have to experiment in the real world. There is no next step. Take the time to listen to your own voice and make mistakes. Make them as early as you can. Don't forget to go out and play. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com.
You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I am Natasha_Malpani on Twitter and at Natasha Malpani Oswal on Instagram. Stay tuned.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
Hi guys, this is Ayushi.
And I am Natasha.
And welcome to Agla Station Adulthood.
It's a fun podcast we've got going on, and we'd love for you to tune in and enjoy with us.
Join us as we stop at various stations and discuss different topics that seem to be bothering us and hopefully
Dating,
you as well.
relationships, beauty, just being an adult, lots of different things.
We don't have a great grip on it, but we've done okay so far.
Catch Agla Station Adulthood every Thursday on the IVM app, the IVM website, or wherever else you get your podcasts.